Get NFL Sunday Ticket at its lowest price ever and watch every game every Sunday. Take your NFL experience to even greater heights with NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, which gives you Red Zone, bringing you the final yards from around the league along with minute-to-minute NFL fantasy updates. Call us at 601-8992 to sign up today.
Six murders in 6 days. We've got details on the latest killings and what police are saying. A scuffle at Anatole Rogers, but guess who's involved? Teachers. The former minister responsible for the detention center talks about a 2009 report, plus a touching story of survival. I'm Nikia DeVoe, and this is NB12. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at Cable 12 Studios. Here are the stories coming out of the NB12 newsroom. Bloodshed continued on the streets of New Providence today as yet another man was gunned down. It's the 10th murder in 12 days. Hours after a man shot on Broome Street died in hospital, homicide detectives were called to yet another crime scene, this time on Fowler Street next to a church. Vonnig Toot has the details.
Residents of Fowler Street off East Street are in shock after a young man was gunned down in this community this afternoon. It's the 6th murder recorded in 6 days and this country's 79th murder for the year. Police say it all went down shortly after 2 p.m.
The police received a report that a male was shot through Fowler Street off East Street. Officers responded about midway and discovered the body of a male lying just on the southern side of the street in a yard with apparent gunshot injuries to the mid-section area.
According to police reports, the victim was playing a game of backgammon with a group of men when he got into an altercation with one of them. The gunman reportedly fired several shots, hitting him and another man. The victim, believed to be in his teens, died under a tree next to a church. The other man was taken to hospital in a private vehicle. He is said to be in serious condition. The victim's mother, who claimed she had been waiting in the sweltering heat for hours, stormed past crime scene tape and demanded to see her son's body.
I need to see this body before y'all carry it.
However, the body was eventually placed on a stretcher and loaded into a black hearse, which left the scene minutes later. Assistant Superintendent Bernard Bonnaby tried to explain to the grieving mother that police must follow procedure. However, she demanded to see Police Commissioner Allison Greenslade.
Everybody else could see his body. I can't see his body. You want me to call the media here? Where Greenslade is? Where he is? Where he is?
Fowler Street resident Alfonso Aubrey says he feels for the victim's family.
Just like at this time to give my deepest condolence to the family of the victims who was involved in this matter. And you know, over the past few months, Fowler Street has been getting some negative reports as relate to shootings in this area.
The assistant commissioner is appealing to those young men who were with the victim when he was shot to come forward and help homicide detectives catch his killer.
Make contact with the police and provide all the necessary information that would assist with this investigation.
The unidentified man is the 10th murder victim in just 12 days. Just this morning, 20-year-old Alexander Joseph of Fleming Street died in hospital after he was shot by 3 men riding in a Honda Accord on Broome Street yesterday. Ferguson says police are doing all they can to find those responsible.
We have an active investigation, and we are investigating each of these murders on its own merit. And if there are connections, we will be able to make those connections. But at the moment, each murder is being investigated on its own.
Anything to suggest any of these murders may be gang-related?
It's too early really to make that assumption.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
A months-long standoff between the Bahamas Union of Teachers and the Ministry of Education escalated today when the union's vice president, Zane Lightbourne, was pushed by a security officer as he attempted to walk through the entrance gate of Anatole Rogers High School this afternoon. Our cameras were rolling when things got physical.
Hold on. Excuse me, don't push me. Excuse me, sir. Don't push me. Don't push my officer.
Let me tell you something. You push me this gate too. Guess what? I press in charge. You put your hand on me.
Lightbourne and BUT President Belinda Wilson called the entire ordeal unnecessary. They claim they informed the school's principal, Myrtle McPhee, on Tuesday that they intended to have a lunchtime meeting with about 70 teachers on campus this afternoon. However, Wilson says when union representatives arrived at 1 p.m., they were greeted by several police officers and locked gates.
It's totally uncalled for. It's very unprofessional. The district superintendent, who was at the back of the security guard, called me to him, and he wanted to speak to me. I attempted to go, and the gentleman put his hands on me. So I'm very upset that he would put his hand on a teacher.
We can find a busload, 4 inspectors, head of security, plain clothes, uniform police to be here today to prevent the union from doing its job. I think they're confused, and they need to get it right.
For 2 hours, vehicles came and went, but Wilson used her car to block one side of the school gate. She remained there until the school bell rang at 3. Anatole Rogers is one of 2 schools where teachers threatened to take industrial action if the respective principals were not removed. After expressing concern about the school's leadership a year and a half ago, Wilson says they arranged to meet with teachers today to discuss the way forward. While teachers spoke briefly with union leaders during the lunch break, they eventually returned to their classes and agreed to meet at 3 p.m. Wilson told reporters they would file a trade dispute accusing the Ministry of Education of violating labor laws.
So I believe that they are afraid that the teachers will say that they do not support her as the leader and they would want her to be reassigned, which we would have been asking for the last several weeks. We definitely will be filing a trade dispute today because this is against the Industrial Relations Act, it's against the labor laws. It's also in breach of 8.25 of our agreement, and it's also in breach of the grievance procedure that we've agreed to.
The union president also threatened to take legal action.
This is not the end. You've not heard the end of us, because we will take whatever legal action that we need to take against the Ministry of Education, the government, the minister. Our lawyers have already been advised to send the minister a letter pointing out his the fault of him ill-advising the principal not to allow us on the school campus today.
Now, Education Director Lionel Sands told us Wilson and her team did not have permission to go onto the school's campus at 1 p.m., insisting she was told to meet with teachers after classes were dismissed for the day. He says the industrial agreement calls for her to get permission from the principal, district superintendent, or education director, which she did not. He said the ministry is not threatened by the union's plans to file a trade dispute. As for calls for the principal's dismissal, Sands says that will not happen. Well, let's move on to other news now. Marathon residents were alarmed to learn of a fuel leak at the Texaco service station on Robinson Road earlier this year. Now, Rubis Bahamas Limited executives say the leak has been significantly reduced and the service station should reopen in a matter of months. Christina McNeil has more in this report.
Rubis has spent millions of dollars to repair and upgrade underground infrastructure at its Robinson Road service station after a gas leak was discovered earlier this year. Now Rubis executives say they expect that station will reopen before the end of the year.
Rubis Marine and Maintenance Manager Huel Dames says once the leak was detected, the company aimed to get remedial work done as soon as possible to the highest standard.
We are very much on schedule. We're very pleased with the progress we have made, and we are in the process of completing our remediation plans, which is going to be submitted to the government for their approval. Once we get everything up and running and finalized, we're satisfied with the authorities that the release is now at an acceptable level, where it no longer poses a harm or any distress to residents or neighboring properties.
Rubis has since installed double-walled tanks at each location as a safeguard against future leaks. The company, however, is still unable to say how much gas leaked into the ground before the leak was contained. But Dames says monitoring wells were dug to determine exactly where the product is within a 200-meter radius of the station.
That leak was repaired and the system was pressure tested, which then guaranteed us that, hey, we had stopped the leak. The service station was closed and all products in the tanks was removed. So basically we then had just a shell of a site. As a result of those wells, we're pretty confident. We know exactly where this product is and where it was. There's been quite a number of testing going on. We've employed a number of recovery methods, starting from vacuuming, skimming, and on the site presently we're employing a system called a soil vapor extraction.
Back in May, a committee for the community oil leak sent Rubis a letter on behalf of affected Marathon residents asking Rubis to improve communication. The residents also questioned whether or not Rubis would compensate affected residents who were no longer able to use their well water as a result of possible contamination. Dames says Rubis has been and continues to pay for those residents to use city water versus their underground wells.
We did a survey. All homes in the area that some of them were on their own private wells, even though there was a government connection or facility for the connection to the city water main. All those wells, we went in and we put those homes on the city water. And as mentioned, we're picking up the cost for their monthly water bills.
Last month, Environment Minister Kenred Dorset told reporters that the assessment on the leak by international consultant Black & Vatch Corporation is long overdue. When complete, that report is also expected to detail health and safety protocols for petroleum retailers, a sector that is unregulated. However, Dames says the consultants have not formally met or communicated with Rubis officials to date. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.